Hi everyone, and welcome to Toolbox Tuesday. And today we're talking about something that can be a little bit tough and honestly can also be pretty frustrating. Okay, and that is, what do we say to people when they don't believe that ADHD is real, right? Now, if you're a parent of a child with ADHD or you live with ADHD yourself, you've probably heard comments like, ADHD is just an excuse for bad behavior, or all kids are hyper, or something like, we didn't have ADHD when I was growing up. If any of that sounds familiar to you, I invite you to go ahead and drop that into the chat. And when we hear things like that, they can sting. They really can, all right? So let's break it down together in a way that's simple and science-backed and human, all right? So let's just say someone says to you, ADHD isn't real, okay? You're probably going to want to be, or naturally you're probably going to feel defensive, right? Which I totally get it. But first, the most important thing to do before going into defense mode is try to start with curiosity. You might say something like, that's interesting. Tell me more about what makes you feel that way. That keeps the door open for a conversation rather than shutting it down, right? So first we want to lead with curiosity, okay? Then we can start talking about the ADHD brain. And we can do that by, I love to use this analogy by Dr. Hollowell. You could say an ADHD brain is like a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. There's so much power, but it can be hard to slow down or steer or stay on the road, okay? So that's just one way to explain it. There's a million other analogies, but I love the Ferrari brain, all right? Then you might want to, if you want to back it up with, some research that you have or that you find, ADHD has decades of research behind it, I promise. So you could lead the person to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the CDC, the World Health Organization, and recognize it as a legitimate medical condition, all right? And it's not rare. 1 in 10 kids are diagnosed, and many adults live with it too. And ADHD often goes very undiagnosed, okay? This isn't about bad kids. It's not about bad parents. It's about a brain that's wired differently, all right? So, you might also hear a lot, kids with ADHD are often too much, or they're not enough, or they're too loud, or they're too distracted, or they're too forgetful, right? But when someone really understands what an ADHD brain is, then they feel seen, right? When someone understands their own ADHD brain, rather, right? And they might say, oh, I'm not broken. My brain just works differently, okay? And when we shift from judgment to understanding, these kids thrive, all right? They're often very creative, out-of-the-box thinkers, very big-hearted, passionate problem solvers. Raise your hand if I'm sure if you're in this group, you love someone with ADHD. I know I do. I love more than one person with ADHD, and they can be some of the most brilliant, just amazing kiddos. I was a former teacher, so I had the privilege of working with so many kids over my tenure, and they were some of my favorite kiddos. All right? So just as a gentle reframe, you can say, when someone says, I don't believe ADHD is real, I think it's just an excuse, you can just say, I hear you. I hear you. A lot of people think that. But neuroscience shows clear differences in ADHD brains. When I say that, I mean, if you look at an ADHD brain and a neurotypical brain on a brain scan, there are notable differences. Okay, so it's not made up. It is a real neurological condition. And with the right support, our ADHD kiddos can thrive. All right, so just to conclude, the goal when someone brings up and, tries to challenge you about ADHD not being real, the goal here is not to win an argument, okay? Who cares? Let them believe that. It's just to plant the seed of understanding, okay? Because a lot of times when we know better, we do better, right? So I hope this was helpful. I know someone had commented the other day about different things they'd like to see in an ADHD book, and someone said, like, how do you explain it? How do you explain ADHD to someone who just doesn't believe in it? So I hope that this helps the person who commented. I hope this helps more people, and if this is helpful, share it with someone who needs to hear it. All right? So thanks for being here today. I always love to know who's with me on the replay or on the live. Always, please drop that into the comments. And if you're parenting an ADHD kid and you want more support, just know there's lots of support and tools out there. That's all I have for today, and I hope that you have a beautiful Tuesday.